Happy Hemp Day, everyone, and welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. If not fantastic, then hopefully a moving week. We're seeing a lot of history taking place, and again, it's a very moving situation. So if nothing else, I hope that everyone is just really feeling encouraged this week, is feeling connected, and yes, all in all, I hope everybody is still having a very good week. Now, my question for the top of tonight's segment is, are we moving too fast on reopening the country? Or is COVID more manageable than we all expected and that we were all kind of, prepared for? I bring this point up because we're hearing about more phases, getting to new phases in every state. We're hearing about places opening up, and it's fantastic. We're all ready to get our lives back, which is great. And no, we're not a news segment. There's a sports tie in here. Just stick with me for a moment. But as we start progressively moving forward and more things start opening and facilities and practice facilities get the green light to have players or staff or coaches coming in and out, we're hearing of more people testing positive for COVID. And I bring this to everyone's attention because I don't want it to slow down the opening process, which is why my next question was, is this much more manageable than we all were kind of prepared for? Of course, anything new and, to the extent that this was being discussed about is going to be scary as all get out. But now it seems a little bit more like swine flu. Hopefully I'm not downplaying this. Of course, I wear my mask, I go out and I'm precautious. I have hand sanitizer all the time, but it's seeming a lot more manageable. And I am hoping that that's the case, because then we're going to start seeing a lot more green lights for our athletes to be in their facilities and for games to be on. Like, we're still waiting to hear a return plan from the NFL, and it's like almost July, which July is training camp. So everyone, I hope everybody joins in with me on fingers crossed that this is either more manageable or that, it's not spreading as profusely, or that there's some kind of control over this, because I need my football back come this fall without any kind of fear or hesitation. That had to be my opening because I was just feeling all of that. Now, of course, that's going to be our segue into talking about NFL, because why not? And we are 99 days out from NFL kickoff, which I'm really hoping there's a kickoff. This is one of the best times of the year for me. Now, Roger Goodell says that teams will only be able to hold practices at their practice facility. Now, some of us are like, duh, where else would they be hosting it? Well, sometimes, they like to go into the stadiums, or they have other offsite areas where they like to join and do training camps. And I'm sure that if this is the case, we're not going to see the team join training camps that we usually do. I know for the Bucs, they have the Browns come down, the Patriots come down, or somebody where, they occupy two teams at one facility. Clearly, there's not going to be the most manageable way or least stressful way to do that. But all in all, Goodell says everyone needs to just stick to the practice facilities. Players are not expected to return until training camp. So we know that the practice facilities opened up. We know that the 75-person staffers were allowed to return. Coaches and players were not included in that. The only players are getting to their facilities is if they're going for medical treatment or rehab. So that is still standing firm until training camp takes place. Now, with all the COVID-19 talk still somewhat going on, the NFL and the NFLPA are in preparation to negotiate COVID-19 salary cap implications. Now, we've seen that most professional sports teams have had to obviously take a huge financial reevaluation, whether it comes to cutting salaries or doing a 70-30, a 50-50 revenue. We haven't heard much talk in terms of what the NFL thinks they need to do or may do. The hard part is that when they work in contracts in terms of guarantees or spreads over 4 years salary, then, a lot of that money is already out the door. So they're going to have to prepare themselves or kind of make these financial reevaluations moving forward. If you guys caught a couple of weeks ago, I was mentioning that their draft took place in April, and we started dealing with COVID the top of March. Now, I was very curious, and no, I still haven't figured it out yet. I'm going to take the time to figure it out, though. I was saying, when they did the draft, did they already start kind of preparing those contracts of those rookies to, take those financial hits for COVID-19 heading into the 2020 season? Because, not that I have a leg up. I have a genius financial advisor of a mom. And I know if it was her situation or her team, she would have already kind of started playing with those numbers, with those rookies, kind of, spread their contract or change their guarantee for year 4 or, their buyout year at 5 to kind of play with those numbers a bit. So I wonder if any of that took place. But other than all that, they're starting to prepare for those negotiations now, and we'll hear more on that later. Some really fun news. If you guys know football and you know defense and you know linebackers, then the name Luke Kuechly does not fall short on you at all. He was one of the most dominant linebackers on the field. After 8 seasons with the Carolina Panthers, he obviously called it an early retirement for his skill set. Like I said, he was a very dominant force on the defensive side of the ball, but he was getting injured a lot. And of course, you have to really think, do I want to continue to put my body through this? He has a family, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, looks like Luke, like most football players, could not stay away from football long because him and the Panthers are having some conversation about him coming back, but at the front office. So that would be really exciting and interesting to see. If Luke returns at the front office, you still get that football feel, but now you're on the analytical side of things, which is amazing. So I hope they work something out. Now, let's just be realistic. A lot of controversial situations, topics, disagreements, agreements are all taking place right now. Well, Drew Brees may have just added a little heat to his plate because and very nicely, if you guys have watched any interview of Drew Brees or when he talks, the way he carries himself, he's a very kind guy. You could tell that he just wants the best for everybody, and, he has a genuine big heart. Now, of course, you don't want to ever read too much into certain things that are said by people that typically come off very genuine, but he kind of put his foot in his mouth with everything going on in the world right now because he said he'll never agree to disrespecting the flag. He still doesn't think that kneeling during the national anthem should be a thing because he was asked on a show earlier, what if players take to taking the knee again for the 2020 season amidst everything going on? He says, I'm still not here for it. So the heat that he's getting is that his respective view is that he has 2 grandfathers that served not only in the military, but they were a part of big, big, big military moments such as the Vietnam War. And for him, it would be disrespectful to them if he was to partake in that, agree with it, or respect it. Now, we all understand, or especially people who have that, strong bond with their family or family lineage. We all understand that, it's never an easy thing to feel like you're turning your back on your family. But where he got roasted is the fact that he's now making him, his family, his lineage more important than a bigger matter. And the only reason I say it's bigger is because you're talking in regards to 2 people in terms of hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Now, these aren't my words. In terms of where he got roasted is the fact that almost every sports analyst and broadcaster was like, whoa, dude, you basically just said that that's more important than anything else going on. You're saying that you can't step out of your own head, step out of your own shoes and say, they served in a different time. Now, when you're forced to put on, not forced, but when you put on a uniform at that moment, unless you are the commander in chief, you're following orders. So you could even still be put in a position to not be doing the best thing possible, or somebody is getting hurt in the process. So in the same sense, what if they were serving in a time that was still very demeaning to another race, and you're upholding them and honoring them over people saying, look, we're just looking for more voices. So that's the heat that Drew Brees just drew onto his back today, unfortunately. Like I said, he's such a kind guy. But, I mean, he was getting dragged to the point where people were like, how can this guy be the leader of your team in New Orleans, of all places? So we're going to see how this unfolds. Like I said, he's such a kind dude. So I can't imagine that he's not going to make a new statement or kind of plead his case a little bit further. But, without striking up another debate, I think most people have stepped back to realize, like, this is more than just a flag thing or an anthem thing. And to be quite frank, I mean, I'm a military brat. And both of my parents served in the Air Force, and I'm not a military brat that's like, oh, my parents served and it's cool or whatever. I'm for all of this, to the point where I still get goosebumps when the national anthem is sang. Well, let's be serious, some people kill it. Or I get emotional when there's ever a flyover. Like, I am that in tune, and I care that much about our military. Wounded Warriors is probably one of the top foundations that me and my family love to give to. But you have to remove yourself from the situation to say, when you listen to the part that touches me the most, one nation under God. Yes, we need to be one nation under God. But in order to be one nation under God, everybody needs to feel like they have a voice. Everybody needs to feel like they matter. Everybody needs to feel like they're loved and accepted in order to truly say we are one nation under God. Because if people aren't feeling what you're feeling, then they don't feel part of that nation. And that's what has to change. That's my spiel on that. Now, kind of in continuation of that, Pete Carroll speaks out to say, we owe Colin Kaepernick. In other words, I'm sure that he's going to be getting some job offers here soon. We did discuss this a couple of weeks ago to say, are people going to start seeing his point of view, or how he did originally try to peacefully draw attention to something? And is that going to open a door and an opportunity for him? We also spoke on the fact that former quarterback, or not former, he's dealing with a major injury, but quarterback Alex Smith said, I'm shocked he still doesn't have a job. So we haven't heard much in terms of, is Kaepernick going to use this opportunity to get a job back in the league? And for some of the people that are speaking out and being like, well, they're just saying that now because of what's going on in the world. Like, why did none of these coaches who are speaking on his behalf, why didn't they speak up then? You guys have to be serious with yourselves. Coaches have this much power. It's like being in media. You have to put in your request. It has to be evaluated. It has to be agreed upon probably between 4, 5, 6 hands before people check off and say, yeah, I agree with you. What you're saying is valid. Let's do it. So coaches can want certain players on their team all day, but most coaches are in a blackball position. They're only as strong as how they can convince someone to allow them to bring a player on their team. So let's not go crapping on the coaches, because again, they only have so much power. And we know Pete Carroll is a player's coach. You can't love football and not love Pete Carroll. As for somebody else who's ready to make an impact with everything going on in the world, and quite frankly, this is probably what touched me the most with everything going on, Dak Prescott donated $1 million for police training. He said and spoke out as a multiracial athlete, saying, in order for change to happen, it has to start from within. So it's fantastic what's going on in the world. It's moving what's going on in the world. But in the same sense, when the streets clear and when things die down, what's the next step? Well, to Prescott, the next step is, making sure that there is valid training taking place for police officers and law enforcement, and, a proper vetting system. And to donate $1 million, like, guys, this guy is still dealing with grieving the loss of his older brother. Unfortunately, his mom passed away a couple years ago. Like, to be dealing with a lot of your own stuff, that's a big deal, and that's very heartfelt. And that's an amazing step in the right direction, in my opinion. Probably one of the most profound statements I've seen thus far. For other football news, we know that college football finally started to get some wind under their sails. Louisville athletes began to return to campus. We know that most college campuses are saying, look, we have to do testing regardless of anything. Oklahoma was the first to start it by selecting some student housing to make sure that if anybody tests positive, that student athletes will go there, quarantine for 14 days, make sure they're in their clear before heading back out. Most people kind of picked up on that trick and decided to do the same thing. So they've located areas on campus where they can host students who test positive, get them clear after 14 days. So Louisville's back on. Boston College hires Pat Kraft as their new AD. So congratulations, Pat. 2 Marshall football players tested positive. So I'm sure they'll be heading into quarantine themselves. And then Michigan head coach Harbaugh joins an Ann Arbor rally. It was when you talk about players coaches, we know that Harbaugh is for sure one of them. You hear such testimonies from his players about how much they just enjoy playing for him, how much they learn from him, and you've heard him go to bat for all of his players. So that was an amazing image to see as of yesterday. Stick with us, guys, as we go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we talk about some NBA as they're finally making some progress to a return plan.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back. So NBA owners are set to approve a plan to return from July 31st to October 12th. I say set because they have to have that final conference call tomorrow to make sure that all the votes are valid and everybody's continuing to stay on the same page that they discussed a couple days ago. But so far, things are looking good. Now, aside from returning on July 31st, they are supposed to be moving forward with the 22 teams to return, and it's all going to take place in Orlando, Florida. They're obviously discussing testing, but now Commissioner Silver says he wants there to be testing every single day. That's just going to make it the most comfortable. And then obviously they have protocols and procedures for anyone who tests positive. Quarantine. We know that that's a solution for everything now. They will be playing in a tournament that will include the number 8 and number 9. If the number 9 seed finishes the regular season within 4 games of 8th. Says a source. So that was a mouthful to try to get through. Of course, we know that when it comes to seeds, they were trying to leave off from where people's placements were as of March 12th. Now, we'll have a couple teams joining the 16-team playoff as of New Orleans, Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, Phoenix, and Washington. So all these guys will be heading down to Orlando shortly. I'm sure they're excited to finally have a plan checking off. We haven't heard any information, pushback, or, irritating conversation in terms of their salary situations. But of course, what we find out, you guys will find out. And hopefully there's not too much more of it taking place, because when it comes to salary conversation, we transition over to the MLB. They've been having the biggest issue with salary conversation. They went from a 50-50 revenue, and of course the players were like, absolutely not. Now there's talk of 70-30, and then minor league players were getting cut. We know that some guys stepped up and made donations to these guys, but other than that, they're just really struggling and having no luck. And then the negotiation department, so they're continuing to try to figure it out. But the crazy part in all of this is they were looking to return to training camp as of June, and they wanted their opening day date to be around 4th of July. So it's June 3rd. We're less than a month out. They're for sure in crunch time, and something's going to have to give within literally the next couple of days here. Now, unfortunately, pitcher Chris Archer, will be out with injury and opting for surgery, so he'll be out of here up until 2021. We wish him the best of luck in his surgery and a speedy recovery. And then the Japanese exhibition was canceled after 2 MLB players were actually tested positive for COVID. One of those being Sakamoto amongst the players tested positive. So they're going to have to start getting these players back over from Japan here, self-quarantine them, and then, as long as they test negative, move forward. But there's no rush until the MLB gets something figured out. I'm surprised because I've mentioned that the NBA was probably one of the first teams to start, talking about a return plan and going through the negotiation process. The MLB was like right there with them. So the fact that they're still struggling to get it together, and if you really take a second to sit down and Google the salary and salary caps of baseball players, and in terms of what other professional athletes make, I'm kind of surprised now that at this point this conversation is really going on this long. Now for the MLS and players that aren't upset and struggling to find negotiation issues, players do approve the deal for the 2020 season in terms of salary negotiations and how they will go amongst continuing to play out their season tournament style. The new CBA will run through 2025. Now, I found this interesting because after that breaking news came out, I started to do a little research, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure that I just did, an article, a full breakdown release on a whole CBA that was announced back in February of an agreement where MLS players were supposed to be getting paid more, and all of that was supposed to go into effect between 2020 and 2021 and play out through 2025 and 2026. So just a heartfelt moment. Imagine how these dudes feel when they thought they were about to make more money, because MLS players make nothing compared to European soccer players. It's just the unfortunate truth. But to think that you're already going to start getting there and heading in the right direction and making a bit more money, and then the agreement is signed off on, it's approved, and this was February. And then March and COVID hits, and now you're taking salary cuts and negotiating different pay, and then you find out it's going to run through 2025. Yikes. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. But hopefully when 2025 pops off, they'll be able to like throw some bonuses on top of that, because I mean, I'm already impatient as it is in life, so I would feel a how if that's what happened. It's nobody's fault, of course. Nobody, came over here and dropped some COVID on everyone, but geez, that has to sting. But it should tell you something. For the guys to get their hopes set on increase, then they have to negotiate a decrease, and then it's spread out over amongst of years, and the MLB can't get it together. I'm shocked. I'm pretty shocked. Now we head over to the PGA Tour. Everyone enjoyed watching Tiger Woods and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Phil Mickelson hit the green and have a great matchup and raise $20 million for COVID-19 relief. It was so much fun, and it was so great that people are like, let's do more of it. We want more. So the fun part about that is that Sanford Health is saying that as long as golf is coming back full swing, they want to strike a deal on making sure that there's going to be consistent testing. And alongside of that, Tiger as well as Phil are like, we want to match up with other people. And then Mickelson decided to throw out some names of people that he wanted to invite out onto the green, from Michael Jordan to Steph Curry, Matt Damon, Will Smith, Charles Barkley. So we're definitely desperate to know, what pairings would you want to see out on the green, to raise more money for a good cause, but to see these guys give each other a lot of crap and have some fun and see how good their game actually is. That's what off season is supposed to be about, perfecting your golf game. At least I thought so. So I know for me, I think I would want to see, I had it all in my head and I was so ready to be like, oh, I've got a good one. But I'm falling short at the moment. The Will Smith, Matt Damon pair would actually be like pretty funny. Mark Wahlberg, I can't imagine that no one would throw him in the mix. For some reason, whenever I think Tom Brady, I think of him as well, because we know Boston stands strong together, even though Brady's no longer the face of Boston. But yeah, there's a lot of cool guys they can get in there. That'd be exciting to see. But they can make so many tournaments that would add to so many reliefs from all the celebrities and athletes that people would just be hyped to see out there. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see another match coming soon. As for other golf news, the official World Golf Ranking will restart next week. So I'm sure that they're going to get everything situated in terms of making sure they have the correct testing. It's a bit easier to social distance in golf. I mean, everyone says that like the National Women's Soccer League is going to be the first aired sporting event that we're all going to see. But technically it was kind of golf like almost 3 weeks ago. So, caddies couldn't touch anybody. There's hand sanitizer. There's wipes. You don't hug anyone. Don't high five after a birdie. You just kind of keep it moving with the head nod. So stick with us. Well, actually, throw us in the comments who your dream pairing would be. Who do you guys want to see pair up with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson? I would love to hear you guys' feedback to see if why I just drew a blank on who I thought would be so cool to see out there. So let us know in the comments as well as our DMs. Stick with us as we run to a quick commercial break, and then we talk about a historic day in our nation.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
All right, guys, welcome back. Now, we had a whole heartfelt conversation on Monday, and Tuesday, I found out, I'm pretty sure I found out like late Monday, if not early Tuesday morning, but Tuesday ended up being a historic day in our nation because it turned into what we call Blackout Tuesday, or what the music industry was saying, it's time to pause the show. Now, to my knowledge, they're not the same exact thing. There was conversation in terms of like different hashtags and all that stuff. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got very confused. And if I can't figure out what information I need in about this many sentences, chances are it went over my head. So all in all, we saw a lot of people posting black screens on their social media accounts. And the athletes and the sports world continue to be a loud voice, not only for change, but for justice. So yesterday, and obviously some of you guys caught that I keep using the word moving, but yesterday was a very moving and endearing day because it's becoming bigger than one race, which is fantastic. Now, I was transparent in my Monday closing statement to say, look, even I don't have the right words sometimes, or I haven't spoken up very much or very well because I don't know how to speak on the matter sometimes. So it's informative for everybody in the world right now. And so yesterday was such an amazing thing to see because you were seeing and hearing from a lot more people that you hardly or rarely hear from. And that is encouraging. That is motivating. That is change. So before our very eyes, we are seeing change. I mean, think of some of the major incidences that have happened over the past 5 to 10 years. Think of the athletes that have, headlined to, take charge and make a difference, and think about how many people backed them up or how long the conversation continued for. There's already been so many differences in the right direction with this situation that it is encouraging. It is hopeful. And yes, it is change, not in a point out or standalone kind of way, but the NHL we know is a predominantly white sport. It's an amazing sport. It's actually become one of my favorites to watch and one of my favorites to cover. But not many players have ever spoken or cited in a matter this big. And if you guys take a minute, like all of these guys have had very, very, very heartfelt messages to say. And why this time? And I think it's just because the conversation is changing and it's still uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. It's still very sensitive, but it's becoming that much easier, or people are learning how to converse it better, or maybe we're all just kind of stepping out of our fearful boundaries. But either way, yesterday was amazing to just see all who decided to participate. And, if you don't have the words, just say, I don't have the words, but I'm here. And I love this nation. I love everybody. I love just, lead with love. And we're seeing a lot of that. So I just definitely wanted to take a minute to show my appreciation for that. It's different for me. I'm a see all sides kind of gal. I come from an extremely multiracial background. So for me, I do get hopeful and excited, and just I'm in complete awe when I see people of all backgrounds and nationalities and cultures coming together to make sure that we all feel, love and peace, and most of all, especially in this instance, justice. So it feels like everyone's heading in the right direction. And, like I said, as a woman of a multicultural background, if you still feel like you've kind of been on pause or it still feels a little uncomfortable, I encourage you to realize that every little bit helps, and just making it clear that we're not going to let hatred and racism speak louder than peace and love and acceptance. And it just takes a little bit every day to make that statement clear. As I said, I haven't even been able to speak on it properly, and I haven't been one to speak up over many instances. So again, there's something different about this one, but if nothing else, it should just encourage all of us to reach for each other regardless of our nationality, our race, and our background, and just start seeing people more than anything. And we're seeing that that we're capable of doing so. So I just encourage you guys to enjoy the rest of your week. Do whatever you can to make that little bit of a change. Nothing worth having is easy, and nothing that needs to be changed is comfortable, but we are all finding a way to be in this together. And, find somebody to reach out to, ask questions. But either way, we are stronger together, as I've always said. Also, make sure you guys are still staying safe during COVID-19 because it's still happening. I know we're all kind of like, it's been the underlying message, but stay safe, stay strong, stay smart, stay sane, and stay respectful, compassionate, and kind. I will see you guys Friday at 8 p.m. I can't wait to chat it up with you then.